Is the woman he cherished for 23 years a heartless traitor, or a desperate pawn ensnared by Hakda's ruthless web of deceit? My name is Min, 45 years old, a man who once thought he had it all, a loving wife, an intelligent daughter, and a dream career. Lon, my wife, was a gentle woman, always by my side during the most difficult times. We had been married for 23 years, weathered the storms of entrepreneurship together, endured sleepless nights worrying about our company, and shared the joy of welcoming home, our only daughter. Home, 22, just got engaged to Tuan, a promising young man I had come to love as my own son. I was the CEO of Technova, a major tech company in Hanoi, which I had spent 20 years building from a tiny office into a multi-million-dollar empire. My life, at least on the surface, was a perfect picture. But that night, the picture shattered. It was a Friday evening, and rain was pouring outside. I had just returned from a long business trip in Singapore, where I was negotiating an important deal with an international corporation. Our penthouse in the city center was brightly lit, yet the atmosphere felt unusually cold. Lon was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and Hung had gone out with Tuan to discuss wedding plans. I set down my suitcase, took off my coat, and sat at the desk in the living room to check my emails. The company was preparing for a major deal, a contract with a Japanese corporation that could elevate Technova to new heights. I was exhausted, but the sense of success was near and invigorating. "You're home," Lon called from the kitchen, her voice gentle but oddly distant. "I made the steak you like. Take a break, don't work right away." I smiled and nodded. "Thanks. Let me just check a few emails, then I'll join you." Lon didn't respond, just kept chopping vegetables, the sound of the knife hitting the cutting board echoing in the quiet space. I opened my laptop, but a notification on Lan's phone, left on the table nearby, caught my eye. The screen lit up, showing a message from an unnamed number. "He's back today. Be careful." I frowned. Lon wasn't the type to hide her messages, and her phone was always unlocked because she used to say, "I have nothing to hide from you." But this message, something felt wrong. I glanced toward the kitchen. Lon was still busy, and gently tapped the screen. The messaging app opened, and what I read made my blood freeze. "I can't take it anymore. He's too busy, never pays attention to me." A message from Lon, sent 2 days ago. "Don't worry, I'll take care of you. If you want it, I'm always here." A reply from the unknown number. I scrolled up, heart pounding. The messages went back weeks, even months. Intimate words, secret meetings, and pictures I couldn't bear to look at. Photos of Lon in outfits she never wore around me, sent to that man. I felt suffocated, as if the room was closing in. Who was he? Why did Lon do this? And how could I, her husband of 23 years, not know? I forced myself to stay calm, copied the number, and saved it in my contacts to investigate later. But before I could close the app, another message popped up. "Tonight, I'll keep him at home. See you at the usual place tomorrow at 10. I turned to look at Lon. She was placing the steak on the table, smiling as sweetly as ever. "Eat, or it'll get cold." I nodded, forcing a smile, but my mind was in turmoil. I couldn't confront her, not yet. Not because I was afraid, but because I needed time to understand what was really happening. I ate quickly, excused myself, and retreated to my private office. There, I opened my laptop and entered the number into an internal company lookup tool, software developed by Technova for customer data analysis. The result came instantly. The number belonged to Tran Kwok Khan, a mid-level employee in the product development department of my own company. Khan, 30 years old, was someone I had once highly regarded for his creativity and energy. I personally interviewed and hired him 3 years ago. He often appeared in meetings, always smiling, and had even dined at my house with Hung and Tuan. He was someone I trusted. And now, he was involved with my wife. It felt like a knife to the heart. But the pain quickly gave way to fury. I'm not one to act impulsively. I built Technova from nothing through patience and strategy. If Lon and Khan thought they could fool me, they were wrong. I needed proof, a plan, and most of all, I needed to know why. That night, I didn't sleep. I installed a monitoring app on Lan's phone, a tool Technova once developed for internal security purposes. It allowed me to track messages, calls, and even her location without leaving a trace. I knew it was ethically questionable, but when trust is broken, I had no other choice. By dawn, while Lon slept soundly, I quietly took her phone, backed up all the data, and sent it to my personal server. The following days, I lived in a play. I still talked to Lan as usual, still asked about her work at the bank, still made plans for Hung's wedding. But every night, I sat in my office, analyzing data from Lan's phone. The messages between her and Khan became bolder, revealing they had met at least twice a week for the past 3 months, often at a small hotel on the outskirts of the city. Some conversations made me want to smash the screen. Has he gotten suspicious yet? Khan asked. No, Min is too busy. He only cares about the company. Lan replied. Good. You deserve better love than that, Lan. I clenched my fists, trying to control my anger. But what shocked me even more was a message from Khan, sent a week ago. Hung asked me about the new project. Remind her not to dig too deep, okay? If Min finds out, we're both screwed. Hung, my daughter? Why was Hung involved? She was just an intern in Technova's marketing department, completely unrelated to Khan's product development project. What was this new project Khan mentioned? I began to suspect something bigger was at play, not just an affair. Was Khan using Lan to get to me? Or worse, to do something to the company? I decided to dig deeper. The following Monday, I summoned Khan to my office under the pretext of discussing a new project. He entered with his usual confident smile, but I noticed the subtle avoidance in his eyes when I looked directly at him. Khan, you've been doing well with the new AI project, I said, keeping my tone calm. But I've heard some concerns about security. Do you know anything about that? Khan flinched slightly, but quickly composed himself. No, sir. Everything is in order. Might just be rumors. I nodded, but made a mental note. He was hiding something. I assigned him a fake task, preparing a detailed report on the project's progress, to keep him occupied while I secretly investigated his company computer. With my admin privileges, I accessed his emails and files. What I found chilled me. Khan had sent a series of encrypted emails to an unknown address containing source code from Technova's latest AI project, a system that could revolutionize the financial industry. The project was confidential, known only to me and a few senior staff. If this code fell into the wrong hands, Technova could lose millions, and I would lose everything I built. But the most horrifying revelation came in an email reply. Don't worry about Min. Lan will keep him distracted. Just get the data before the contract with Japan is signed, and we'll all be rich. Lan, my wife. Not only was she cheating, but she was also complicit in a scheme to sabotage my company. The ground beneath me felt like it was crumbling. But I didn't let emotions take over. If they wanted to play this game, I would play it better. I began planning my counterattack. First, I needed to protect Hong. If she knew anything about the project, she could be in danger. I called her to my office that afternoon under the guise of discussing the new marketing campaign. When we were alone, I closed the door and asked directly, Hong, have you ever talked to Khan about the AI project? She looked surprised. No, Dad. I just asked him for some data for the campaign. What? Just tell me the truth. Have you noticed anything unusual? Hung hesitated, then sighed. Actually, last week I saw him working late on a computer that wasn't from the company. When I asked, he said he was checking for system bugs. But it felt strange. He closed the screen as soon as I got close. I nodded, trying to hide my concern. Thank you. Don't mention this to anyone, not even Tuan. I'll take care of it. She nodded, but I saw the worry in her eyes. I knew I had to move fast. That night, I contacted an old friend, Nam, a cybersecurity expert who once worked with the military. I told him everything. The affair, the sabotage, the threat to Technova. Nam agreed to help, under one condition. I had to keep everything confidential. Learned from years of building Technova that the most dangerous enemy is the one who doesn't know you're coming. So, I continued my role as the weary, loving husband while quietly assembling a plan to flip the board. On Tuesday, I received a message from Nam, my cybersecurity friend. Min, I've got new info. Meet me tonight, 8 p.m., Old Cafe in the Old Quarter. Don't tell anyone. I replied simply, okay. My adrenaline surged. Nam wasn't one to exaggerate, so if he wanted to meet in person, it meant something serious. I made an excuse about meeting a client and left the house early, not forgetting to check the surveillance app on Lan's phone before leaving. She had just messaged Khan. He's gone. I'm free tonight. I clenched my jaw, but kept my focus. I needed clarity. The cafe in the Old Quarter was a small, aged place, its walls lined with paintings and the air thick with the smell of roasted coffee beans. Nam was already there in a secluded corner, a cup of black coffee in front of him and his laptop open. He looked the same as he had 10 years ago, disheveled hair and eyes sharp as razors. "Sit," Nam said, pushing a coffee toward me. "It's worse than you think." I sat, keeping my voice steady. "How bad?" Nam turned his laptop around. The screen showed a string of decrypted emails sent from Khan's account to an anonymous address. They contained not only the source code from the AI project, but also my personal information, travel schedules, daily habits, even temporary passwords to company systems. My blood boiled. "Khan isn't acting alone," Nam said. "He's working for something bigger. Maybe a rival, or worse, a criminal syndicate. They're targeting your Japanese contract. If they get the code before you sign, Technova's done." "And Lon?" I asked, my voice rough. "How much does she know?" Nam looked at me with regret. "She knows everything. She's not just distracting you. She's been feeding information to Khan. One email even thanks her for her excellent support. She's been promised a big cut once the plan succeeds." I gripped the cup so tightly I thought it would break. Lon, the woman I once loved more than life itself, hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She had sold out everything I'd built. But Nam wasn't finished. "There's more," he said, voice low. "I found out who the third contact is. The number Khan keeps messaging belongs to Tuan, your daughter's fiancé." I felt like the floor had vanished beneath me. Tuan, the young man I had welcomed into my family, the one Hung adored? I shook my head, refusing to believe. "No way. Tuan isn't part of the AI team. He works for a law firm." Nam slid a printed dossier across the table. "So I thought too." I dug deeper. "Tuan's firm is a shell. It's owned by the same network funding Khan. He was placed in Hung's life on purpose, to get to you. The dinners, the casual questions about the company, they were all rehearsed." I flipped through the dossier, photos of Tuan meeting Khan at a bar, hotel receipts matching the days Lon met Khan, and a message from Tuan to Khan. "Hung is starting to get suspicious. I'll keep her busy with wedding stuff. You take care of the rest." I looked at Nam. "Does Hung know?" Nam shook his head. "Not yet, but she's close. If Tuan thinks she knows too much, he might act." Rage flooded through me again, but this time it was cold and razor-sharp. Lon, Khan, Tuan. They had turned my family into a chessboard. But I wasn't a pawn. I was the one who set the rules. And they were about to pay. "Nam, I need you to do one more thing," I said. "Create a trap. Fake a version of the AI source code, realistic enough for Khan to take the bait, but embedded with tracking code. I want to know exactly who he's working for." Nam nodded. "Done. But you need to be careful. If they realize you're setting them up, they might not just come after the company. You and Hung could be in real danger." That night, I returned home past midnight, my mind spinning with the information Nam had revealed. Lon was asleep, but her phone was still on the table. I checked it, another message from Khan. "Tuan says everything's fine. See you tomorrow." I deleted the message, placed the phone back exactly as I found it, and headed to my office. There, I began mapping out everything: allies, enemies, and potential pawns I could use. The next morning, I arrived at the office early and called an emergency meeting with the AI development team. I told them there was a potential security flaw and ordered a full audit of the source code. "We can't afford any leaks before the Japan deal is signed," I warned, deliberately locking eyes with Khan. He nodded, his expression unreadable, but I noticed his grip tightening around his pen. He was nervous. I assigned him to a task that was meaningless on the surface, reviewing UI bugs, knowing he'd be too distracted by his plan to notice the code had been swapped. Later that day, I called Hung to my office. I needed to keep her safe, but I couldn't yet tell her the full truth about Tuan. "Hung, I want you to take a few days off," I said. "The company's going through a sensitive phase, and I don't want you getting pulled into any of it." She frowned. "What kind of sensitive phase?" "I can help." I smiled gently. "It's mostly technical. You should focus on your wedding for now. I'll handle the rest." She nodded, though I could see the doubt in her eyes. Hung was smart, just like me. I knew I wouldn't be able to hide the truth from her for long, but I needed more time to deal with Tuan. That evening, as I reviewed emails, the doorbell rang. Juan answered it, and I heard a voice I hadn't heard in a decade. I stepped into the living room and froze. Standing there was Tao, Lan's younger sister, the one who had vanished from Vietnam 10 years ago after a family scandal. Her platinum hair, sharp suit, and fierce gaze gave her an entirely new aura. "Hello, Min," Tao said with a cryptic smile. "It's been a long time." Lon looked stunned, even scared. "Tao, what are you doing here? Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" Tao shrugged. "Just got back? Thought I'd drop in on my dear sister and brother-in-law." "Am I interrupting something?" I studied Tao carefully. She wasn't the type to appear without purpose, especially not now. 10 years ago, she left after Lon and their family disowned her over a financial scandal. I had defended her back then, but we lost contact. Now she was back, right when my life was unraveling. "You're not interrupting," I said calmly. "Come in, Tao. Stay for dinner." She accepted, but her eyes never left Lan's, as if reading her thoughts. Dinner was strained. Lon barely spoke. Tao, on the other hand, talked about her work in Silicon Valley, cybersecurity, and AI, themes that were too coincidental. When Lon went to the kitchen, Tao leaned toward me and whispered, "Min, I know what's happening. If you're going to fight back, I can help." I met her eyes, heart pounding. "Who are they, Tao?" She smiled, but gave no answer. Just sipped her wine and said, "Wait until Lan's asleep. I'll show you something." That night, after Lon went to bed, I met Tao in the living room. She handed me a USB drive. "Plug it into your laptop. Password is Betrayal." I did as instructed, and what appeared on the screen left me speechless. Dozens of audio recordings, videos, and documents, all tied to Lon, Khan, and Tuan. One video showed Lon meeting a strange man at a restaurant, receiving a thick envelope. An audio recording captured Tuan telling Khan, "If Min finds out, we'll have to deal with him first." But the most shocking was an old email from 10 years ago, from Tao to Lon. It was a plea, begging Lon not to frame her during the family scandal. Lan's cold reply read, "You brought this on yourself. Don't expect me to save you." I looked at Tao. "How did you get all this?" She shrugged. "I never forgave them. I built my own network overseas. When I heard about Technova's deal with Japan, I sensed something was wrong. I came back to help you, and to settle old scores." I narrowed my eyes. "What do you want in return?" "Justice, and a stake in your victory," she said, calmly. I nodded, cautiously. Tao could be an asset, or a threat. Either way, the war was escalating, and the next move was mine. The next morning, I left for the office early. Lon asked if I had slept well. I lied, smiled, and told her I had a lot to do. At Technova, I met with Nam and Tao in a secured conference room. We connected the USB to the internal system and began compiling all the files into a master case folder, one that could be sent to authorities, media, or our Japanese partners if necessary. It was my insurance policy. "This is enough to bring them down," Nam said. "But you need to act fast." I just intercepted a message. "Khan is preparing to upload the real AI code today." I nodded. "Then today's the day we close the trap." Nam uploaded the fake AI code embedded with a tracker to the system, and I assigned Khan secret access to it, just as he had planned to steal. Tao prepared a monitoring system, and together we waited. At 2:17 p.m., Khan took the bait. He accessed the decoy code and transferred it to a shadow server. Instantly, the tracker activated. "We've got him," Tao said. "Data's going to Singapore. Server belongs to a shell corporation tied to a known syndicate." "What about Tuan?" I asked. Nam replied, "He's scheduled to meet Khan tonight." "That's our chance." I nodded. "Set it up. We end it tonight." The board was set. The pawns were moving, and I was done playing nice. As night fell, the tension was heavy, thick like the humidity before a thunderstorm. Nam, Tao, and I completed the surveillance setup at a safe house on the outskirts of the city, far from the compromised walls of Technova. Nam had planted hidden cameras and audio equipment at the cafe where Khan and Tuan were scheduled to meet. Tao, ever precise, monitored the network traffic in real time. Every click, every data transfer, they were ours. Before heading into the operation, I made one final call, to home. "My daughter," I said, voice steady. "I've arranged for you to go to Dalat with Aunt Mai. Please, don't ask questions. Just trust me." She hesitated. "Dad, something's wrong, isn't it?" "It's just some company matters. But I need to make sure you're safe." "What about Tuan?" I paused, the words sticking in my throat. "Please, don't contact him right now." After the call, a weight lifted slightly off my chest, though my mind was still in turmoil. Hung was everything to me, and I couldn't let her become collateral in this brutal game of betrayal and control. At 8 p.m., Khan arrived first. His car pulled up silently beside the dimly lit cafe. He didn't know every step he took, every move on his phone, was under our watchful eyes. 10 minutes later, Tuan appeared, not the polite young man I once knew, but a cold, calculating figure who walked straight to Khan's table. "Do you have the code?" Tuan asked. Khan nodded, opening his laptop. "It's been sent." The server confirmed receipt. "But something doesn't feel right." "Min's suspicious?" "I'm not sure. Lon says she's still able to keep him distracted." My fists clenched at the mention of Lon. So many years of devotion, reduced to a cover for darkness. "There's new orders from the top," Tuan continued. "If there's any sign of exposure, Min must be eliminated. At all costs." From behind the surveillance screen, Tao's eyes narrowed like blades. "Now you see, don't you? This isn't personal anymore. This is war." I nodded. "Start recording. Prepare to forward all evidence to the police if they make a move." We waited another 15 minutes, capturing every bit of their exchange. As Tuan stood to leave, I sent a single message to Nam: "Activate Plan B." Outside the cafe, two of Nam's agents, undercover as plainclothes officers, were ready. They moved in, approached Khan and Tuan, and within moments, both were apprehended. I let out a slow breath, not of satisfaction, but of grim realization. The war was not over. Lon remained. The mastermind still lurked in the shadows. And secrets still lay buried. I turned to Tao. "Prepare for the final round. Tonight, she will tell me everything."